The clang of pots and the shouts from the kitchen blended in a chaotic symphony at Chat Cuisine, a cozy diner in downtown Los Angeles. Emily, a frazzled waitress, wiped sweat from her brow as she hustled to serve the hungry lunch crowd. "Order up." 3 cheeseburgers, 1 Cobb salad, barked the line cook. Emily grabbed the plates, her apron strings trailing behind as she raced to the dining room. She exhaled a sigh of relief when she saw that Veronica, the fiery owner with a personality as bold as her red beehive hairdo, hadn't arrived to check in on the staff yet. But right on cue, Veronica burst through the kitchen doors, a determined look on her face. "What's the holdup? Customers are getting antsy," she called, glancing around. Just then, her eyes landed on the window overlooking the alley. A homeless man sat there, engrossed in a tattered paperback. Veronica's expression softened. "Emily, take that container of meatloaf scraps to the gentleman outside. Would you, dear?" Veronica said. Emily blinked in surprise but nodded, packing up the leftovers. Veronica sighed. It's a shame when good people fall on hard times. Outside, the homeless man, William, looked up in surprise as Emily handed him a large container. "Ma'am, you got something for me?" he asked, eyes widening. "Compliments of the owner," Emily replied, offering a polite smile. "Just don't go spreading it around." William opened the lid, his eyes lighting up at the sight of sliced meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy. "Thank your boss for me," he murmured, sharing a portion with another homeless man, Michael, who had appeared, eyeing the meal hungrily. Emily watched them before heading back inside, glancing over her shoulder as William called after her, "Ma'am, thank the owner for us." Veronica, watching from inside, softened further and went outside herself to speak to William. She acknowledged his thanks with a simple nod before retreating back inside. The 2 men later sat on a park bench, savoring the meal. "I'd give anything for a cold drink to go with this," Michael sighed. William shook his head. "I don't know how you can live on the streets and still spend what little you have on that stuff," he replied. "Don't you want a better life?" Michael shrugged. "We all ended up here for different reasons," he replied, his tone distant. William grew somber, lost in memories of his past life, a happy marriage to his wife Tanya and his precious daughter Sophia. It had all unraveled when a wealthy classmate, Nathan, pursued Tanya, who eventually left William for the man's wealth. Heartbroken, William turned to drinking to dull the pain until he found himself homeless and alone. Hours later, Michael returned with a mischievous grin, clutching an expensive leather purse. "Good news. I found this purse full of cash on 4th Street, he declared. William's brow furrowed. "You can't just take things that aren't yours," he protested. "What if someone's missing it?" "This is the real world, buddy," Michael replied, dismissing William's concern. Feeling conflicted, William reluctantly let it go. That night, however, guilt gnawed at him. The next morning, he mustered his courage, took the purse, and knocked on the back door of the diner. Veronica opened it, slightly disheveled, and blinked in surprise. "Ma'am, my friend found this yesterday," he said, holding out the purse. "I thought it might belong to you." Veronica's eyes widened as she took the bag and rifled through it, visibly relieved. "Oh, thank heavens. This had my weekly cash for the bank drop and so much important identification," she said, looking up at him gratefully. "Just glad I could return it," William replied humbly. But Veronica, moved by his honesty, peeled off a $20 bill to give him. William shook his head. "No, ma'am. I couldn't possibly accept money for doing the right thing." Veronica smiled warmly. "Well then, at least let me buy you a hot meal. Come inside." William hesitated, but with a gentle nudge from Veronica, he allowed himself to enjoy a warm meal. Over coffee, he shared his story with her, how he had lost everything after his wife left and how he ended up on the streets. Moved, Veronica patted his hand. "No one should have to go through that kind of loss. I want to help you," she said. With a gentle push from Veronica, William agreed to stay temporarily at the diner as a caretaker, sprucing up the grounds in exchange for room and board while she visited her sister out of town. With a renewed sense of purpose, William transformed the exterior of the diner, planting vibrant flowers and laying fresh mulch, turning the once drab grounds into a cheerful, inviting space. When Veronica returned, she was speechless. "I can't believe how incredible this looks, William," she exclaimed, pulling him into a grateful hug. She soon arranged a meeting for William with her friend Andrew, who managed properties around town. Andrew was so impressed by William's eye for design that he immediately offered him a job. This was the start of William's new career, and over the next few years, he became a sought-after designer, eventually launching his own landscaping company, Beautiful Beginnings. With a steady income, William set out to find his daughter, Sophia. After some searching, he discovered that she and her mother Tanya were still in their hometown, Beardsley, Ohio. Nathan, who had left them long ago, had given Tanya little choice but to rely on her remaining family to get by. One crisp April morning, William, holding a bouquet of daffodils, knocked on Tanya's door. She answered, her face showing both surprise and disbelief as she recognized him. Before she could react, a young woman appeared over her shoulder, brow furrowed in curiosity. William's heart leaped. It was his Sophia, all grown up. "Mom, who is this?" Sophia asked, her gaze fixed on William. "It's your father, sweetheart," Tanya replied softly, tears glistening in her eyes. The reunion marked the beginning of a new chapter for William. With time, Sophia warmed up to him, and with Veronica's mentorship, she eventually opened her own restaurant, where she poured all her talent and creativity. Years later, at Sophia's grand opening, William couldn't help but reflect on his journey from homelessness to a successful business owner and a proud father. A familiar face appeared in the crowd, Michael, looking healthier than before. He approached William with a grin, giving him a hearty hug. "I finally cleaned up too," Michael said. "Believe it or not, I'm working back at Shaw Cuisine. Veronica hired me a few months ago." Life had come full circle. Surrounded by family and friends, William knew he had been given an extraordinary second chance. As he joined the crowd inside for Sophia's celebration, he whispered a quiet word of thanks, grateful for the long, unexpected path that had brought him home.